You guys probably remember when I made that video on games with bad start but amazing ending. Basically those games that felt like a chore at first but then blew my mind when it all came together at the end. Well, today we're flipping that idea on its head, because let's be honest, sometimes a game hooks you right from the start. You're all in, thinking it's gonna be your new all-time favorite, and then the ending just face plants harder than me trying to land a 360 in Tony Hawk. So, this is my list of 20 games with amazing starts, but super lame endings. And just like always, this is all based on my personal experience, so if you actually loved some of these endings, hey, more power to you. But for me, these games went from 10 out of 10 hype to what the hell just happened real quick. So Thief 2014 kicks off like you're this badass master of shadows, slipping through rooftops and alleyways, stealing shiny rings and goblets like a kleptomaniac Batman who just got fired from the Justice League. The atmosphere is so moody and mysterious that you feel like every shadow is your best friend. You're sneaking around, guards are dumb as bricks, and life is good. But then the story goes full Saturday morning cartoon with supernatural nonsense that feels completely out of place. Like the writers panicked halfway and thought, what if big spooky eyeball boss? Suddenly you're not this grounded stealth legend anymore. You're fighting a paranormal PowerPoint presentation that barely makes sense. It's like ordering a steak and getting handed a half-cooked hot dog at the end. You keep waiting for this massive twist or clever heist finale, but the game just drops you into a pit of what the hell is this and calls it a day. Honestly, Thief 2014 is a masterclass in how to start like a 10 out of 10 and finish like a flat soda. Village starts like Capcom secretly hired a Hollywood director for the opening act. Snow everywhere, creepy atmosphere, and then boom! Werewolves bust in your house like they're doing a Kool-Aid Man impression. It's terrifying, it's chaotic, and Lady Dimitrescu struts in, stealing the internet within 5 minutes. The first half of this game is peak horror, peak tension, and peak tall vampire mom energy. But then Capcom flips the table and goes, what if this turned into Call of Duty with werewolves? By the time Chris Redfield shows up with his military squad mowing down Lycans like they're in a Michael Bay film, the game just loses its soul. The ending boss fight? A giant gross blob that's about as scary as a deflated Halloween decoration. And the final cutscenes are trying to be emotional, but honestly just feel like they got speedrunned through a checklist. Resident Evil Village is basically like going to a haunted house that starts scary, but ends with a foam pit and a guy in a bad gorilla suit waving goodbye.
Wait! Where's Ethan?
The beginning of Assassin's Creed 3, chef's kiss. You start off as Haytham, this classy, smooth-talking dude who feels like James Bond in colonial America. You're sneaking around in powdered wigs, doing assassinations with style, and you think, damn, Ubisoft is cooking! Then they hit you with the plot twist of playing as Connor, and the first few hours are genuinely exciting. A half-native assassin in the middle of the American Revolution? Sign me up. But then the story just drags. Connor is less charismatic than a wet sponge, and the grand promise of revolution drama turns into a never-ending history lesson with pacing issues. The final confrontation between Connor and Charles Lee should have been legendary, but instead it's like two guys fighting over the last slice of pizza. And don't even get me started on Desmond's epic finale, which was hyped up for years and ended with him basically tripping over a space light switch. AC3 starts like the coolest history class you've ever had and ends like detention with a broken projector. Mass Effect 3 wastes no time. The Reapers invade Earth, Shepard is running through chaos, and you feel the weight of the galaxy on your shoulders. The stakes have never been higher, and it's like playing the final season of your favorite sci-fi TV show. The middle of the game, incredible. The missions are intense, the choices are brutal, and the character arcs are so good, you actually pause the game to cry into your Doritos. But then, the ending. Oh boy. After 3 entire games of building choices, bonding with crewmates, and sweating over decisions, it all boils down to picking a color-coded explosion like you're at some cosmic Home Depot. Red, blue, or green? That's it? The galaxy doesn't really care what you chose, and it feels like the writers just closed their laptops and went home early. It's like being promised the best steak dinner of your life, and then they serve you 3 bowls of Jell-O with different food coloring. Mass Effect 3's ending is infamous for a reason. It's not just disappointing, it's the definition of, is that really it?
Why didn't you stop it?
We believed the concept had been eradicated. Clearly, organics are more resourceful than we realized.
The intro of Far Cry 5 slaps harder than Joseph Seed's sermons. You're in this tiny Montana town, a creepy cult has completely taken over, and the opening scene where the arrest goes horribly wrong is pure tension. You're instantly hooked because it feels disturbingly real. The cultists are brainwashed, the setting is eerie, and Joseph Seed is one of the most chilling villains Ubisoft has ever made. Then the gameplay takes over, and you're blowing up silos, liberating towns, and fighting charismatic bosses. It's a blast. But the ending? Absolute clown shoes. No matter what you do, all your hard work means nothing because, surprise, nuclear apocalypse, boom. Your choices didn't matter. Your victories didn't matter. The game just says, screw you, we already picked the ending. It's like working hard all semester for an A, only for the teacher to fail everyone because the fire alarm went off. Far Cry 5 has one of the most unfair, rage-inducing finales in gaming, and it turned what could have been an iconic masterpiece into a giant troll job.
The collapse has come. The world as we know it.
Dead Space 3 had me at the start. You're in this icy wasteland, trudging through snow while necromorphs are jumping out like they just heard the ice cream truck. The atmosphere, still tense. The gunplay, still fun. And you think, okay, they actually pulled it off. They're keeping the horror alive. But then, slowly but surely, it stops being Dead Space and starts being Call of Duty Alien Edition. Instead of sweating in the dark over every bullet, you're blasting through enemies with co-op shootouts and crafting weapons like you're shopping on Etsy. And the ending boss fight, my God. They throw a giant space bug at you, and it's as anticlimactic as swatting a housefly with a rolled up newspaper. It doesn't even feel scary, just loud and dumb. Isaac's journey deserved a chilling, terrifying climax, but instead, the game slaps duct tape over the horror and says, "Explosions are scary, right?" Dead Space 3 had the start of a sci-fi horror masterpiece, but ended up being a Michael Bay action movie that forgot it was supposed to make you scream.
Isaac, are you there?
Cyberpunk 2077 had one of the best starts I've ever seen in an RPG. You're thrown into Night City, which looks so alive you almost want to buy an apartment there, until you remember you get hacked in 5 minutes. The opening missions with Jackie? Emotional, cinematic, and full of promise. You feel like you're on the edge of something revolutionary. But then the game actually finishes, and suddenly all that promise crashes harder than the game did on PS4. The multiple endings? Yeah, they technically exist, but none of them feel particularly earned. It's like all your choices along the way collapse into a handful of underwhelming cutscenes. Jackie's death hits hard at the start, and you expect the finale to bring that same punch, but instead you're left staring at the credits wondering if you missed the part where your decisions were supposed to matter. The start makes you think you're about to live through the future of RPG storytelling, but the ending feels like ordering a legendary burger and getting a microwave burrito instead.
If they'd agreed, you'd have told me to fuck off then and there.
Oh, stop. Look at the city.
When Arkham Knight begins, it feels like Batman gaming perfection. Gotham is huge, dripping with atmosphere, and cruising around in the Batmobile for the first time feels incredible. The first few hours are all mystery, tense encounters, and Scarecrow messing with your head like a pro. You're fully invested. But then, oh boy, the Arkham Knight reveal. You spend the whole game thinking it's some brand new villain with layers, only for it to be Jason Todd, which every fan predicted 3 trailers ago. The game builds this massive mystery only to hand you the most obvious twist in superhero history. And then the true ending? Locked behind completing every single Riddler collectible, like some cruel punishment for people with jobs. Instead of an epic payoff, you're just stuck driving around looking for trophies shaped like question marks. Arkham Knight had the start of a gritty Batman epic, but tripped on its own cape right at the finish line. It's like the Joker set up the punchline and Rocksteady just forgot to tell the joke.
What's wrong? Scared.
Final Fantasy 15 begins like one giant road trip with the boys. You're pushing the car down a highway, you've got banter, fishing, camping, and it feels like Square Enix really nailed the journey of brotherhood vibe. The combat is flashy, the world is beautiful, and you're genuinely having fun. The first half of the game makes you think this might be one of the best Final Fantasies ever. But then the ending slams on the brakes like a drunk chocobo. Suddenly the open world vanishes, you're shoved down linear corridors, the story gets confusing, and plot points that should have been emotional feel rushed. It's like the devs realized they were running out of time and just duct tape cutscenes together until it barely made sense. By the time you hit the finale, you're more confused and heartbroken, and the grand payoff of this epic journey just feels empty. Final Fantasy 15 starts like a wholesome anime road trip and ends like someone accidentally skipped 5 episodes of the show. This game kicks off like you're about to be crowned the king of orc slaying. The Nemesis system is firing on all cylinders, enemies remember you, taunt you, and sometimes come back stronger than ever. The opening hours are a glorious playground of chaos, where you feel like the most dangerous Ranger-Wraith hybrid alive. You're taking over fortresses, building armies, and thinking, wow, this is the most next-level Lord of the Rings game ever made. But then the ending smacks you with the subtlety of a brick. Instead of some epic showdown, you get dragged into an endless fortress defense grind that feels less like a final act and more like being forced to do chores. The actual finale is just a cutscene so short and underwhelming, it might as well have been a TikTok. All that hype, all that orc drama, and you're rewarded with a shrug of a conclusion. Shadow of War had the start of a fantasy epic, but ended like someone ripped out the last chapter of the book and just left you staring at the back cover. The Order 1886 begins like a movie you'd pay $15 to see in theaters. Victorian steampunk London, knights with futuristic weapons, and werewolves lurking in the shadows. The graphics are so stunning that even now, people mistake it for a cutscene. The first couple of hours are dripping with style and mystery, and you're thinking, damn, Sony really blessed us with something unique. But then, after a handful of hours, the ending arrives, and it feels like someone yanked the power cord out of the console. The story just stops. No epic conclusion, no closure, just a big to be continued that never got continued. It's like ordering a giant gourmet meal only for the waiter to bring you half a sandwich and tell you the rest will come in 2027. The Order had all the makings of a masterpiece, but ended so abruptly it left players wondering if the disc was scratched.
Born and destroyed by humanity's incessant greed. The pride of men.
Mafia 3 opens like one of the greatest revenge stories in gaming. You've got Lincoln Clay, a charismatic protagonist, set against the backdrop of 1960s New Bordeaux, dripping with atmosphere. The betrayal scene, where his family gets massacred, brutal. The setup is incredible, and you're ready to carve your way through the city like a gangster John Wick. The first few hours make you think you're in for a legendary story of crime and retribution. But then reality hits. Repetitive missions, grindy gameplay, and an ending that just doesn't pay off the buildup. You spend hours building an empire only to be handed multiple meh outcomes that all feel unsatisfying. The finale tries to give you choice, but it's more like picking between 3 boring sandwiches when you were promised a 5-course meal. Mafia 3 nails the vibe of a gangster epic in the beginning, but collapses into monotony and an ending that makes you feel like all that bloodshed was just busy work.
I know what Sal did to you, Lincoln, but nothing you do will bring any of them back.
The intro of BioShock Infinite is legendary. You step into Columbia, the floating city in the clouds, and it's so beautiful you actually stop moving just to look around. The world feels alive, mysterious, and full of secrets. The first act is pure magic, exploring the city, unraveling the mystery, and meeting Elizabeth. It's easily one of the best starts to a video game ever. But then the ending decides to throw 87 plot twists at you like it's in a rush to break your brain. Suddenly we're talking about multiverses, constants and variables, infinite lighthouses. It's less of a climax and more of a college lecture you didn't sign up for. Some people loved the galaxy brain explanation, but for most of us it just felt like the writers went, what if we just confuse them into thinking this is deep? Infinite begins like a breathtaking piece of art, but ends like someone dropped all the puzzle pieces on the floor and said, yeah, that's basically the picture.
It's the only way to undo what I've done to you.
Booker DeWitt, are you ready to be born again?
The start of Gears 5 is everything you want from the series. Huge set pieces, crunchy gunplay, and Cape Diaz stepping into the spotlight with a personal, emotional storyline. You're blasting through enemies, exploring semi-open areas, and thinking, this might be the best Gears yet. The setup is gripping, and the story feels like it's leading to something massive, but then the ending just stops. They force you into a choice where you decide who lives and who dies, but instead of feeling powerful, it feels like a half-baked cliffhanger. There's no real resolution, no satisfying finale, just a to be continued energy that leaves you staring at the credits in disbelief. It's like binge watching a great Netflix series only for the season to end on a random mid-scene freeze frame. Gears 5 had the start of a blockbuster, but ended like the writers just left a sticky note saying, we'll figure this out in the sequel. Crisis 3 starts like a tech demo from the gods. You boot it up and immediately question whether your PC is about to explode just from rendering Prophet's suit. The bow? Iconic. The jungle, overgrown New York? Gorgeous. You sneak around feeling like Predator with a college degree. For the first few hours, you're in awe. Then the story remembers, oh yeah, we have to end this somehow, and slaps you with the most generic alien boss fight of all time. The Alpha Ceph is about as intimidating as a wet mop with a glowing forehead. After all the build-up, all the visual splendor, the finale just feels like a PowerPoint slide titled Aliens Defeated. You don't get a satisfying payoff, just well, that's over, thanks for playing. Crisis 3 is basically like going to a Michelin star restaurant, getting a mind-blowing appetizer, and then being served a plain slice of bread for dessert.
The art equipment, not his top-of-the-line weapon, just himself. Took me a long time to remember that. For now, the war is over.
The beginning of Watch Dogs is a vibe. Hacker revenge thriller, Chicago as your playground, and you're shutting down streetlights with a button press like you own the whole city. The first act makes you feel like Aiden Pierce is some mysterious hacker superhero who's gonna redefine the genre. But then, the story keeps going. And going. And you realize Aiden has the charisma of a broken toaster, the villains are discount Saturday night TV gangsters, and the big emotional payoff is weaker than a Wi-Fi signal in your grandma's basement. The ending tries to go for this dark, serious wrap-up, but by then, you're too numb to care. All that hacking, magic, and open world promise boils down to a conclusion that's about as thrilling as paying a parking ticket. Watch Dogs is the definition of a game that starts like, I am the future of open world tech thrillers, and ends like, okay, so who wants to uninstall me first?
I played you. Clara is as much your fault. So is your niece. That's why you sent your family away, right? They know what you are. You play a beautiful...
This game kicks off like BioWare is back to save RPGs forever. A giant green hole rips open the sky, demons are raining down, and somehow you're the chosen one with a glowing hand. The first 10 hours are epic. Gathering allies, building your Inquisition, exploring massive maps. It feels like you're in a fantasy movie trilogy. But then the game remembers it needs a villain payoff, and Corypheus waddles in like the least intimidating ancient darkspawn ever designed. The guy looks like a melted action figure, and the final boss fight is laughably easy. After dozens of hours of politicking, exploring, and epic build-up, the finale is as anticlimactic as dropping your phone and realizing the screen didn't even crack. Inquisition's ending is so bland, it feels like they ran out of coffee halfway through writing it. Amazing start, solid middle, but the finish is like fireworks that never got lit.
Looks that way.
What do we do now?
Few games have an opening as mind-blowing as MGS5. You're crawling through a burning hospital, a flaming whale eats a helicopter, and a guy on fire is chasing you around like Ghost Rider's angry cousin. It's surreal, it's cinematic, and you think, Kojima has done it again. The gameplay that follows? Flawless stealth sandbox brilliance. But the ending? Oh man, the ending is like getting ghosted after the best first date of your life. Half the story feels missing, dangling plot lines just vanish, and the big twist about Venom Snake isn't even satisfying. It's just confusing in a why did I grind 100 hours for this way. The whole finale plays like Konami kicked down Kojima's office door mid-development and said, wrap it up champ, we're cutting to credits. MGS5 starts like a blockbuster movie and ends like a half-finished group project someone turned in at 3 a.m. just to pass the class. Borderlands 3 starts off like a party you never want to leave. Guns are literally raining from the sky, the humor is wild, and every enemy encounter feels like a colorful explosion of chaos. You're vibing with your Vault Hunter crew, shooting psychos while Claptrap is being his usual annoying self, and it feels like the series is back in full swing. Then comes the Calypso twins, who are introduced like they're supposed to be these iconic villains, but instead they're like Twitch streamers who spent too much time on TikTok. By the time you get to the ending, the humor feels worn out, the bosses are painfully underwhelming, and the story just limps across the finish line with a shrug. The final boss fights, especially Tyreen, feel like someone taped a health bar onto a balloon animal and told you to keep shooting until it pops. It's tragic because the beginning screams Borderlands at its best, but the ending reminds you that even the most hype party ends with you sweeping Doritos off the carpet while wondering why you stayed so long.
You want to lose me?
Krieg, I am ready to initiate the mind extraction.
No.
Unity's opening is a visual masterpiece. Paris is jaw-dropping, the parkour is fluid, and Arno's revenge story seems ready to bring back peak Assassin's Creed glory. The early hours feel like Ubisoft actually nailed it this time. But then the story just limps along. Arno's romance subplot feels like it was written on the back of a napkin. The Revolution setting barely matters, and the finale is so forgettable you'll struggle to even describe it after playing. The final confrontation with Germain should have been epic, but instead it's clunky and anticlimactic. Like Ubisoft just wanted you to hurry up and uninstall so they could sell you the next Assassin's Creed. The game that started with Vive la Revolution ends more like Vive la Disappointment. Gorgeous intro, weak ending. Unity is basically a beautiful cake that tastes like cardboard once you cut into it. And there you have it, 20 games that started out with all the potential in the world but stumbled when it mattered most. Which of these do you think had the most disappointing ending? And more importantly, which one hurt you the most as a gamer? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to hit that like button if you've ever rage quit after a bad finale. Until next time, keep gaming and let's hope for better endings ahead.